This will be my first attempt at a Nautilus Swirl cold process soap. In many ways it's similar to the Hurricane Swirl, which I've made quite a few times, but it's in a loaf mold, and so I just saw other videos of it recently on YouTube and thought that would be interesting to try. I very seldom use a loaf mold, so it's kind of new for me. This is the recipe I'm going to be using. Kind of not really slow, not really fast moving, but it should work just fine, I think, for the amount of swirling that needs to be done. Nice degree of hardness, as well as cleansing, as well as conditioning, so it should be a good quality soap. As usual, I'm using some sugar for sudsiness. I'm using some sodium lactate to get it out of the mold easier and make it a nice, hard, shiny bar. For colors, I'm using red and white, so for my true red, I'm using Nurture Soap's Trial by Fire. That makes a nice, true scarlet red. And then for white, I'm using Nurture Soap's Winter White. I'm using Ceylon Black Tea from Oregon Trail Soap Supply as my fragrance. That's a very nice fragrance. It does not seem to accelerate significantly, so it's useful in a highly swirled soap. And I'm using the mold from Essential Depot. It's a 50-ounce mold, and I don't remember who I got the dividers from, someone on Etsy, but it wasn't Essential Depot, but they fit perfectly. So I'll have 3 stripes, white on both sides and red in the middle. And I've also, just with a magic marker, marked where the individual bars will be cut, so I know where to make my swirls. My oils are at 103 Fahrenheit. My lye water is at 121 Fahrenheit. I have already put sugar into the lye water. I have sodium lactate in the oil. I've never known why it's always recommended that you put the sodium lactate into the lye after it goes below 130 degrees Fahrenheit. I've been putting it in the oil lately where I know it's cooler than that, and it works just fine. So this is my fragrance oil. It should be non-accelerating, so I'm going to put it into the oils right now. And as usual, make sure you've got everything you're going to need before you mix the lye into the oils. As I've said in other videos, I tend to use a hand whisk rather than a stick blender. For most of the soaps I make, it does take longer. It's more manual stirring, but I don't get any bubbles in the soap that way. And while some people are very good at not getting bubbles in soap when they use a stick blender, I always seem to get some bubbles. So I'm happy with this method. As always, if this stirring takes too long, I will either cut parts out or I will speed up the video. I just want to bring this to a good emulsion, and I'll separate it into my colors. And I think that is nicely emulsified. I'm realizing I'm going to need another pitcher here for the white. I want twice as much white as I have red, so I'm hoping that'll be about right. And I think I'll mix the white in the bowl. I hope that works. As I've said in other videos with the Nature's Garden Winter White, I really like that as a white, but it tends to form a crud on the bottom of the pitcher, so you really have to scrape it for a while to get it loose when you first mix it into the soap batter. So I will stir these until they come to trace, and then I will move the camera so you can see the mold. This soap is at a nice trace, so I think it's ready to pour. I'm going to hold the dividers down so I don't get too much leakage to the sides. I think I'm going to have a little more white than red, just because I didn't measure it very well. Oops, that was not good. Well, that was a little messy, but hopefully it'll be all right. These end pieces are very tight. They're always hard to get out of there. Now, as you can see, I've marked the sides of the mold to show the size of the bars that I'm going to be making. So I'm going to start out with like a Taiwan swirl, pretty tight, maybe 1/4 inch intervals, 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch. And then, for the swirl, I'm going to try to keep it within the bar size and do a spiral working inward. This would probably be better if I had 4 stripes of color rather than 3. So I will insulate this and we'll have a look at it tomorrow. I will spray some alcohol on the surface. It is a day later. I put the soap into a warm oven, 54 degrees Celsius for 129 Fahrenheit. For about 3 hours and let it cool in the oven then overnight. So this is the loaf as it came out of the oven. No soda ash on it. I kind of wish the white were whiter, and I kind of wish the red were redder. It's kind of a brick color, which surprises me, considering that it was the trial by fire mica. And then I cut that loaf into 8 bars. 4 vertically, and then I split it halfway down into 2 sets of bars. So this is one of the bars. On the left side, it was the top layer, and then on the right side is what was directly under that in the mold. And then the second bar, same thing, top layer on the left and bottom layer on the right. And the third one. And the fourth one. I'm not really unhappy with these. As I say, I wish the colors were a little closer to true red and white. And I think had I made 4 layers of color in the mold rather than 3, we would have had a much nicer pattern there. But I'm happy with it as it is.